Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog and join the Progressive Army.
In our national lead, longtime California politician Kevin DeLeon is facing renewed scrutiny after getting into this physical altercation with an activist at a holiday event with a bunch of kids watching. 2 months ago, DeLeon and two fellow council members were on that leaked recording where racist comments were made about a colleague and his black son.
That colleague's name is retired LA council member Mike Bonin, who is raising a black son. Nuri Martinez, who has resigned from the LA City Council. She first stepped down as president of the council and thought that would be sufficient. She subsequently resigned. She was caught on audio referring to the child as a little monkey. Kevin DeLeon is in the background, kikiing it up, as Nuri Martinez refers to a black child as a little monkey. Now, they probably thought nothing of it. You know, I'm sure they still think nothing of it. You listen to the audio and it's just, you know, she's talking about how he's jumping around like a little monkey, you know. But activists around the city and around the country, quite frankly, had called for her resignation and for the resignation of Kevin DeLeon, who has now been caught on video tussling it up with a black activist by the name of Jason Reedy.
Kevin DeLeon is wearing the Santa hat, a wounded lion of LA politics. Green jacket, that's Jason Reedy, community activist.
You're racist. No, you're racist.
The Santa hat falls. This was a holiday party.
Now, that overly dramatic reporting is from CNN. Now, they've sunk their teeth into it, and they're getting both sides of it. Actually, Kevin DeLeon was just on CNN earlier today. I have a couple of clips of that. But yeah, CNN is being really dramatic about the video, and it is dramatic. It is really dramatic, but I got to be fair. The activist really got into the city council member's face. I mean, we got to call a thing a thing. He pulled up on Kevin DeLeon, who thought that he could come back to, you know, and matter of fact, he's going to be attending an LA City Council meeting tonight, which is Tuesday, December 13th, 2022. Thank you so much for joining me at the Benjamin Dixon Show. Now, I have not had a chance to cover this story in great detail, but I've been following it. I've been following it through the lens of quite a few activists there in Los Angeles, Black Lives Matter, Grassroots, not the Global Foundation that got $90 million, but the Grassroots Black Lives Matter. They have called for the resignation of Kevin DeLeon. Now, he's newly elected. He's fairly new. His term isn't up until 2024. And, you know, there's, parts of his constituents are calling for him to stay. They voted for him. And my friends over at TYT, God bless them, Jank and Anna, they make a really pretty convincing argument about civility. And I get it. I'm generally on the side of, if we can avoid hostilities, let's avoid them. If we can avoid violence, by all means, let's avoid it. But civility for the sake of civility, I'm not sure that I'm there. Matter of fact, I know I'm not there. There's a lot going on in Los Angeles, and I've been following it in great detail. I just haven't had a chance to cover it on the show because, well, I've been off the air for about 6 months. But I know Mike Bonin. He's been on the show. He is a friend of the show. He sent me the audio back in October, and I was unable to, really sink my teeth into it, but I listened to it, and I understood why he was hurt. I mean, here is a LA City Council member referring to his child, his 2-year-old adopted black son, as a little monkey.
In October, some year-old audio leaked. City Council President Nuri Martinez talking about a fellow council member and his kid.
There's nothing you can do to control him.
Translation, little monkey. She apologized and later resigned. On that tape, she also said Councilman Mike Bonin uses his son like an accessory. DeLeon appeared to agree, made a joke.
Yeah, and then when Nuri brings her the yard bag or the Louis Vuitton bag,
Again, the dramatic voice is from CNN. as they give a decent summary of what started all of this. And now it's escalated to fisticuffs between an activist and the LA City Council member, Kevin DeLeon, and the list of reasons for him to resign has increased to include assault. Now, what started it? I'll leave you guys to go over to TYT and listen to Jank and Anna as they debate whether or not civility is warranted. But when you tie this with everything else, because I think that's what you have to do. I think you have to tie this racist reference, this casually racist reference. Say that 3 times fast. You have to tie this casually racist reference to the homelessness and the poverty that is in LA. I had a chance to speak with LA City Council member Mike Bonin, whose son was referred to as a little monkey. He's been on the show, friend of the show. I had a chance to speak with him about the homelessness in LA. I'll play a clip of that in a moment. But when you tie this issue with what the LA City Council is doing to homeless people in that city, the unhoused citizens of Los Angeles, who have had their last belongings, the last thing that they have of theirs that they carried with them since they were gentrified out of their homes, since they were priced out of LA. You think of course, pricing in real estate across housing across this country is a epidemic problem, but in LA, it is catastrophic. Listen to retired LA City Council member Mike Bonin as he spoke about it on the show here a few months ago.
In LA, we're in the middle of a dystopian crisis. I mean, if for most of your listeners who aren't from LA, in LA County, there are 60,000 people who are homeless, and 70% of them are unsheltered every night. 4 or 5 people are dying on our streets every day. There are tents, encampments on streets in almost every neighborhood, in front of homes, businesses, schools, parks, everywhere. I mean, it is end of times scenarios here. And we're sort of at a point in LA where we're either going to do what we know works, which is house people and give them services, or we're going to double down on the stupid, expensive, failed strategies we've done for decades, which is try to push the problem away and criminalize it.
They criminalize it. Then they otherfy it. They erase your entire citizenship. You're no longer a citizen of LA. You're no longer a citizen of ATL. You're no longer a citizen of New York. But what do? They vilify you, they otherfy you, they get rid of you, and they hide you away. So someone please tell me, is that not reason enough to be upset at the entire LA City Council, including the racist members who refer to the man you just heard, Mike Bonin, raising a black child? They refer to his son as a little monkey. Now, when I put 1 and 1 together, I get 2 good reasons why not only Kevin DeLeon should be gone, but there's a whole lot of other people on that city council who should be gone. Here's one who's gone. Paul Koritz, who went viral this week for signing off, leaving his office. He was termed out of being a city council member. This is how he said goodbye to the protesters who, unfortunately, they've made it a little difficult for the city council members to have a normal order of business. This is Paul Koritz.
Lastly, to the disruptors and protesters who've done their best to make it difficult for us to do our work in the last 2.5 years, in their own words, I yield the rest of my time and fuck you.
The city council erupted. They erupted into cheers, celebrations. They love this. These are the leaders of Los Angeles, where there is an apocalyptic homelessness crisis going on right now. That's the backdrop. I need you to make sure everyone understands the score, right? These are the council members who live well. They live good. And they are talking about this Paul Koritz, same city council as Kevin Day. This is Los Angeles, city of angels. And here is Paul Koritz telling the protesters who are protesting not only on behalf of Black life, not only on behalf of Mike Bonen's son, black son, who was referred to as a little monkey, but they're also protesting on behalf of the 80,000 homeless people in that city. And this is what Paul Corrence says. And this is what the city council celebrates. So it's not just Kevin DeLeon that these people are protesting. Of course not. Kevin DeLeon has made a star of himself. I mean, he was on CNN earlier today apologizing. I mean, on one end, they had Jake Tapper and his reporter giving the most dramatic description of the events possible.
Kevin DeLeon is wearing the Santa hat, a wounded lion of LA politics.
A wounded lion. And then earlier today, they gave Kevin plenty of space to make his case.
Working with my constituents, as well as having conversations, not just with my constituents in the district, but with constituents or folks outside the district, with many communities, but in particular, the African-American community. Let me underscore something. This is something that I have profoundly taken a lot of reflection about. I rolled up my sleeves and I'm getting back to work.
Isn't that what the LA City Council does? Just like Kevin DeLeon is doing here? You know, a lot of people are calling for him to resign, but it doesn't look like he's going to resign. He'll be back to work in no time flat. That's what the LA City Council does. They endure a little bit of protest. Sometimes they endure a long protest, but so long as they endure and go through it, they can just get back to business as usual, like Kevin DeLeon said on CNN today. He intends on getting back to work. Never mind the racism. Never mind getting into a fight with an activist. Never mind that activist was not only protesting on behalf of Mike Bonen's 2-year-old son, who was referred to as a little monkey, but clearly he's fighting on behalf of all of the homeless people in LA who have no place to stay while the LA City Council can just get back to work. Well, I'm sorry, Kevin DeLeon, and everyone who's calling. There's got to be quite a few people who are publicly calling for him to resign, who are privately in the background making it easy for him to get back to work. When at the end of the day, there's so many people in the city of LA who have suffered and are looking for a change. And let me tell you who's not suffering. It's not suffering to have to walk down the street and see homelessness. It's suffering to be homeless, unhoused. It's suffering to be gentrified, priced out of your own community. And it's definitely suffering when the media and the politicians and the police completely erase your identity, otherify you, vilify you. Sounds so familiar. It's what LA does to black people all the time. I know that this particular story is split in two by the media. And I want you to watch really closely how they are masters of doing this. There is a dual problem in LA. It is a problem of racism, yes, but it's also a problem of homelessness, unhoused citizens. And that is a problem, that is a product, rather, of the economic policies that have been enshrined all across this country. It's not only LA, it's happening on the East Coast. There's bicoastal, bipartisan support for these economic policies that lead to gentrification, that lead to the ever-increasing price of rent. New York is doing the same thing with their homeless and their unhoused populations. Mayor Adams has made it easier to just basically Baker Act someone, put them in a mental institution. So instead of rectifying and fixing the problem, well, what is the problem? LA City Council member Mike Bonin, once again, a few months ago on the show, this is what he said.
We're sort of at a point in LA where we're either going to do what we know works, which is house people and give them services, or we're going to double down on the stupid, expensive, failed strategies we've done for decades, which is try to push the problem away and criminalize it.
That's why the activists in general are so upset in LA. It's not just the racism. They are most certainly upset and should be upset about the racism. Kevin DeLeon needs to resign. He was a little too comfortable laughing. He was a little too comfortable laughing at that overt racism. But it's not just the racism. It's the poverty. It's the homelessness. And it's the fact that you live in a city where you have the best of times and the worst of times. And you have city council members like Paul Corrence who will turn around and tell you to go F yourselves. Or F you, or whatever he said, trying to be cool. And then you have the entire city council dancing and celebrating in front of you. As you watch your personal belongings be thrown away by the LAPD, the city council, whose member just assaulted a black man, laughs at you because Paul Corrins got to say F you. I'm sorry. The people of LA have every reason to be upset. I need to stay in California, and I want to bring up some audio of what has been approved in San Francisco. Now, California is ostensibly the most progressive state in the union, but it seems as though it is the most dystopian. Listen to this report from San Francisco about robot dogs that are going to be or have been authorized to use lethal force.
New developments now. Robots with the San Francisco Police Department can now use lethal force. Supervisors approved the controversial plan today. It allows police to deploy robots to kill in extremely rare cases when there's an imminent risk of death to civilians or officers. Supervisors added an amendment requiring one of two high-ranking police leaders to authorize use of a deadly robot. The SFPD currently has 12 functioning robots. While the department says it does not plan to provide the robots with guns, they could use explosives.
That's reassuring. Death not by gun, but death by an explosive robot dog. There's a consensus that's happening around this country. It's not just in California. I know I'm putting a lot of emphasis on Los Angeles and on San Francisco now with this murderous dog, canine robot, something out of Black Mirror. But the truth of the matter is that there is a consensus that transcends political party and it transcends race. And it is a consensus around the police state. Now, this is the same police state that is being brought down all around the country and that has been brought down. The hammer was brought down in the wake of George Floyd. In fact, there's a direct line from what's going on in Los Angeles at the city council. The uproar, there's a direct line from the George Floyd protest all the way to the audio of Paul Corrins, who told the audience to go F themselves. Okay? So there's a lot that happened as a result of George Floyd, and it wasn't positive for the people. It wasn't positive for Black people. And that's because there is a consensus around the police state. There is a consensus in the United States of America around the police state. And San Francisco just got permission to go where no police force has gone before. Or at least not in San Francisco. They're going to use dogs, robots that can use explosives. Now, I think there's another occasion that I can recall that the Houston police used explosives to kill a person. Now, they just got all the toys, don't they? I mean, the police force, the policing agencies across this country have all the toys they ever want. Every single one of them gets to dress up like they're playing Call of Duty. Now they have, drone robot dogs that can go and kill people using explosives. And yet they still have in San Francisco a homeless population of 20,000 people. 20,000. I think somewhere in the last segment, I mistakenly said that LA had 80,000 homeless people. No, they have 60,000. Yeah, the difference is made up by San Francisco. 20,000 there in San Francisco. They can afford these robot dogs in the rare case. See, here's the thing. That report said that it was going to be used only in the rarest of occasions. But that's of little consolation for people who are regularly, routinely targeted by these police forces. Black people, unhoused people. We are the ones who are routinely targeted by the police force. Now, I'm not going to say that I expect the LAPD to just put out the dogs on us at regular stops. But if it happens, I guarantee it happens to a black person first, God forbid. But they most certainly will pull these dogs out when it's time to protest. This is 100% about stopping the protest that they saw. They have to make sure the consensus in the United States of America, the consensus that exists in the United States of America that pours billions of dollars into a police state and then pretends as though they can't possibly do anything with 20,000 homeless residents. They can't possibly figure out an economic system that would not crush us at the very bottom of the machine. But they can give enough funding for 100,000 new troops on the street. Thanks, Joe Biden. There is a bipartisan consensus that transcends political party and it transcends race, and it pours billions of dollars into the policing forces across this country. And when we decide to stand up and protest on behalf of Black life, or the unhoused population and their allies stand up to protest on behalf of themselves in LA, I got a sneaky suspicion that whatever extra technology is laying around that they want to experiment with will be used. We'll be back right after this quick break.
Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show and get twice the content and unfiltered interviews without any of the commercial interruptions.
And here we go. Very special welcome to our two newest patrons. Thank you so much for becoming a patron. Emo Dragon, glad to have you on board. And DP Dickerson, thank you so much for becoming a patron. You too can become a part of this prestigious and prodigious patron family by going to patreon.com/The BPD Show. Whoa, wait a minute. That's patreon.com/The BPD Show, where you get twice the content, none of the commercial interruptions, and you get access to our bi-weekly patron parties. It goes down from the West Coast all the way to the East Coast, to London, to the UK, everywhere. We have patrons coming to party with us, and you could be a part of it. Patreon.com/The BPD Show, and we'll be back right after this.
Welcome back to the Benjamin Dixon Show. Visit us online at thebenjamindixonshow.com.
In our national lead, longtime California politician Kevin DeLeon is facing renewed scrutiny after getting into this physical altercation with an activist at a holiday event with a bunch of kids watching. 2 months ago, DeLeon and two fellow council members were on that leaked recording where racist comments were made about a colleague and his black son.
That colleague again was LA City Council member Mike Bonin, friend of the show. We played a clip of him earlier describing the homelessness situation in LA, which is one of the number one reasons why the protests are still ongoing. It's not just a matter of racism in LA, but it's also a matter of economic crisis for the working class and for the poor and for the homeless. Now, I want to cover one last angle of this before I finish up today, because I'm already out of time. But I want to cover one more angle, and that is, I have to ask a question again. Why is a conservative provocateur, why is the Proud Boy supporting, Make America Great Again, Nazi adjacent so-called journalist by the name of Andy No, why is he supporting Kevin DeLeon in this? I want to read a tweet from Andy No, and this is what he said on Twitter. I'm reading from a screenshot because he has me blocked on Twitter. Don't be a coward, Andy. This is what he said. At a tree lighting event on Friday, Los Angeles City Council member Kevin DeLeon was physically confronted and headbutted by Jason Reedy, a member of the far-left violent extremist group People's City Council. The council member fights back. Now, you can go look at the video, and I don't see a headbutt. I see two men in a verbal confrontation, and there's a huge crowd around them, and they do touch each other, but it's not a headbutt. Now, notwithstanding that, Andy No is on the wrong side of every issue that matters to decent human beings. He is a LGBT bigot. He is an anti-Antifa, means he is pro-fascist. He is a Proud Boy supporter. He's a friend of Nick Fuentes. I mean, there's a video of Nick Fuentes, the avowed Nazi, who's famous now because he decided to go with Kanye West to have dinner with Donald Trump at Mar-a-Lago. This is the circle that Andy Ngo runs in. And this is the person who is now throwing his support behind Kevin DeLeon because he's more afraid. I want you to check this. Andy Ngo, who is a proud Nazi-adjacent, pro-MAGA Donald Trump conservative, who probably has no love for Kevin DeLeon, to be sure, right? But when he's picking his side, he doesn't pick the side of the protester. He picks the side of the state power, the Los Angeles City Council member. Why is that? When this LA City Council member, who up until this point was known as a big deal Democrat, I mean, he was the big dog there in LA. And you mean to tell me that this conservative, Andy Ngo, has more in common or more cause with Kevin DeLeon, LA City Council member? What? Democrat. Why does this conservative have more fear of a Black Lives Matter activist than this Democrat? Why, when he's picking the enemy of my enemy, he's opting on the side of institutional power? That's because he knows when it comes down to it, the LAPD is going to do the same whether or not they're underneath the control of the Democratic Party or the Republican Party. That's what he knows. And when it comes down to it, the only people who are left that are going to be standing against fascists, both on the streets and fascists inside of the LAPD, he knows it's not going to be Kevin DeLeon. He knows that it's going to be people like Jason Reedy. And he also knows that when the rubber meets the road, the police are going to be standing behind the fascists while they're staring us down face to face. And this is why this pro-MAGA, pro-Proud Boy, Nazi-adjacent pseudo-journalist by the name of Andy Ngo, who has helped Nazis across this globe harm our allies. The reason I'm passionate about this portion so much is because I've seen the insidious and malevolent work of this subpar as being kind. He is a bottom feeder of a conservative journalist. Yet he's buddies with Elon Musk now in this new ecosystem of far right-wing conservative journalists. They all love Elon Musk for some reason. I wonder why. But this guy who, and I'm not saying that he's buddies with Kevin DeLeon. Don't mistake it. I want to make sure I'm clear on that. But when fascists are making their decision between who's the enemy of my enemy, which enemy of my enemy am I going to side with? Well, here's a clear example. They're going to side against the people fighting for justice. Whoever it is at the end of the day that's actually fighting for justice, you can guarantee that's who the fascists are going to side against. And in Los Angeles, you have people who are angry, hurt, but determined to fight for justice, not only on behalf of Black life, which is constantly under threat by the LAPD, but also by the threat of the economic system that has over 60,000 homeless people in the city of LA alone. So, of course, Andy Ngo is going to side with Kevin DeLeon because Kevin DeLeon is going to side on the side of capital. The LA City Council in general is going to side on the side of businesses and real estate. They're going to side on the side of the LAPD. And they've made it clear that they will not only vilify and dehumanize, but they will kill Black folks. And they will displace homeless people and kill homeless people and get away with it. That is the true nature of this dystopia that we're living in. It's not just happening in LA. It's happening all around this country. God help us.